Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot today. Yeah. So I guess we're live. So hi everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone is excited for our upcoming Rover's launch, the Perseverance, from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. So we are here to kind of conduct a watch party. It was just a idea to just bring about people together and discuss the different features, the different qualities of this rover, the mission, and the some technical details of it, and all the other things that go around that. Why are people so excited about this particular mission? And again, it's a big step towards Mars, our next big step towards Mars. So here we are. So let me just introduce myself and Mahesh here. So I'm Komal Kedarnath. I go by KK. Okay, a lot of resound. I'm not sure like what is the problem. Okay, anyway, so I'm KK. I'm from R&D at SSERD. So Mahesh, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, hi KK. So this is Mahesh. I'm the head of innovation in SSERD. So we are crazy about rockets and everything related to space. Okay, so we thought of sharing that with the fellow enthusiasts. So here we go. Yeah, KK.
Yeah, so that's great. So as I said, me and Mahesh are here. Like it's gonna be more of a conversation. We're having a watch party, so let's let the party begin. Okay, so yeah. So Mahesh, first of all, I would like to understand the whole idea behind the name Perseverance. Like, I mean, look at the earlier missions of NASA that were aimed at Mars. We had the Curiosity. We had Opportunity, and they're all really cool names. And the very first rover that went in, to just move around the surface, we had a microwave-sized rover called Sojourner, which basically means someone who is there to stay temporarily. So how unique names we have had so far, and why Perseverance now? And
Okay.
I'm gonna talk about who named it, but I want to understand your take on it. Like, what do you think Perseverance means here?
Okay, first of all, NASA has a long history of coming up with cool names for its missions. I really love the names they come up with. Now, if you can remember our previous, Mars rovers which NASA have launched. For example, we have Curiosity, Insight, Opportunity, and we have Perseverance now. So, what exactly these names represent? Now, if you can think really close about it, all these names are qualities that we humans possess. Okay, so which means we are always curious and we seek opportunity. We have the spirit and insight to explore the unknown. So that is why NASA named these rovers with our humans features as a main background. Now, if you follow that order of naming rovers, we have one important quality which we left out. That is perseverance. So what do you mean by perseverance exactly? Doing something despite of difficulties, achieving something with obstacles. So that is why NASA gave this contest of coming up with a name for this rover. And a 13-year-old student from Virginia, his name was Alexander Mather, came up with this name. So this was a winning name. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, really. And if I had to just think about the present scenario, if I remember correctly, the name came out in March, right in the middle of March. The name was announced, and out of 28,000 applicants, 28,000 different K2 students who submitted their essays to NASA. One stood out, and that was Perseverance. But if you think about the present scenario with all the pandemic going around us, and how the mission itself was postponed, the launch itself was postponed multiple times. If you look at it, so the name seems as though it just suits the situation right now.
Well, yes, that's perfectly makes sense to have this name at this right scenario. Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, we have people everywhere, battling against this pandemic. Despite all the difficulties, we are keeping things going on, and despite the despite it seemed, although impossible, to get this whole mission completed within the time window that we have, which again is very important, because there's a whole reason why we are launching in this window, this particular period of time, if
Exactly.
I'm right.
If you think
Yeah.
it's not only about this current COVID crisis. So this Mars transfer window opens every 26 months. So if we leave this window, we have to wait till 2022, which is a long way. So even at this current scenario, NASA just went with this. Let's have this mission done. Now,
Okay, yeah.
now I would like to share a few other things about our Curiosity rover, which one of my favorite rovers. Okay, before Perseverance came. Now, if you think about Curiosity, it's like a perfect twin brother to this Perseverance rover. Everything looks same. Okay, the only difference is it has upgraded missions, instruments, and its goals are completely different. Okay, now here is a question: rover Curiosity rover literally found everything that is to there with a microbial activity, the human previous ancient water presence in Mars, and mineral compositions, atmospheric compositions, literally everything. It did almost all science. But why do we exactly need this again? Another mission.
Okay, now that's an interesting question. Also, I have a doubt here. Can you tell me how is Perseverance compared to Curiosity in terms of size? Because if I remember, as I said before, the Sojourner rover was just like the size of a microwave, and now if you know if like if I recollect it, this whole Perseverance rover is as big as an SUV, right? It's that big.
Exactly,
So
exactly. So it's
can
mini
you
SUV
compare
size rover.
other features of Curiosity with Perseverance? Why?
Okay,
Why?
comparing in terms of size, it is almost the same. Okay, both are the size of SUV. But if you compare it with the number of instruments and the upgrades which the Perseverance got, it's next level. Okay, and again, Curiosity used this rocket-powered sky crane for this EDL phase. So even Perseverance will be using the same technology because it is already proven. They don't want to experiment with new things. But here's another interesting. Curiosity did not have this particular technology called sample catching, wherein Perseverance will collect rock samples, it will store in capsules inside its belly, so that when NASA comes up with subsequent missions, it is trying to get back the samples back to it. One of the coolest features, I guess.
Okay. Now, if that's like what we are talking, somewhere around 10 more years to bring out a new mission, go get the samples back. Yeah. So something like that. We are
Yeah,
looking at.
exactly. But yeah, eventually NASA will have missions which will try to bring back the samples back. So that is their. So actually, when this Perseverance mission was designed, it wasn't a single mission. Remember that it's a group of missions which will happen in sequence. So yeah, we will have
Okay.
interesting missions coming this coming years.
That's really cool. Despite the long duration of timeline that we look at, getting another mission and completing the entire all the stages, it's a very big step that we are taking. Like if we are successful in bringing those samples back, it'll be like the very first time we are having a piece of Mars here on Earth that is bought by us, going there and getting back. That's when you think about it, it's like what we it's been what so many years that we got moon rocks. There will be a time when
Exactly.
we'll be talking about Martian rocks. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going up there to get some Martian rocks, and that's going to be cool, something like that. That's
Well,
not
yeah.
far. Yeah.
See, when the astronauts from Apollo 11 mission brought back rock samples from Moon, that was first time in history a human got back something like extraterrestrial material out there in space.
Exactly.
So when this the Perseverance rover does this, and if we have subsequent missions which brings back this rock sample from Mars, it'll create another historic moment similar to Apollo 11. Exactly.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah. So let like we have it's 5:12 now, and the countdown is to strike zero at 5:20, and we have a couple of things to highlight before we reach that point. So let's talk about the landing site of this rover. So it's called the Jezero crater, and there's
Exactly.
something significant about it. Can you just highlight what that is?
Okay, I think Jezero crater would have been the best site, okay, which they are going prior to Curiosity. Why? Because it's not just a crater, okay, it's an ancient lake bed. There was a huge lake in Jezero crater back then, ancient lake, and the lake got dried up. But if you can think about lakes on Earth, it's a perfect place to preserve life, right? Microbial activity inside its rock beds. So that is why
Okay.
they are going to that crater. If it was ancient lake, which scientists predict it is, well, interesting science data might be there, waiting
Okay.
for for
So
the perseverance to discover it.
it's like there's a chance of us finding some fossilized life, not dinosaurs
Yes.
though, but yeah, of course some sort of microbial life, very microscopic in nature. So that's going to be what we'll be looking specifically. So we if I have to highlight this point apart, like you are just comparing curiosity with perseverance, and there
Mhm.
are some new instruments that perseverance is carrying up there. One of my favorites being microphones. So we're gonna have a chance to hear the sound from Mars. So what do you think, like what can we understand from the sounds of Mars, and also the
Okay.
other instruments that's
Yeah.
new?
So when this JPL engineers came up with this concept of putting a microphone onto a rover, it wasn't exactly a scientific instrument, okay? But the results which we will get, it's going to be fun. The deployment of parachute, the explosion of this explosive nuts, the release mechanisms, the sky crane powering its rockets, the touchdown, literally everything. You can hear all the sounds. Imagine when you skydive, okay?
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
haven't skydived, but if you fall through the atmosphere, you will hear that breeze going over your ears, right? So you can actually hear that sound. NASA is trying to, record all these sounds. So yeah, it's going to be fun hearing to those sounds when NASA releases those audio.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm really excited to get to hear the sounds of Mars for the first time. And one more important object that's traveling along with Perseverance is this proof of concept, or proof of technology, a helicopter for the first time to be
Exactly.
flying in the Martian atmosphere. It's called Ingenuity. Okay, and what does Ingenuity mean? And I mean, I know what it means, but how does the name Ingenuity stand right with this particular technology of this very new helicopter? So I can quickly tell some of the uh, features of it, like how it's just as important a mission for us as Perseverance is, but it's not the prime focus here. But can you tell what can we understand by sending this firing up this helicopter in the Martian atmosphere?
Okay. So if you talk about drones flying in Mars, well, of course, in the coming years, we will have manned space missions for sure, manned Mars missions, right? That is our main focus. Whatever we do, we'll be trying to discover more stuff on Mars, which will help us to land on Mars. That is the whole concept. Let it be NASA or commercial programs that is trying to go to Mars. So imagine, okay, uh, don't look at it at the scientific point of view. Just imagine flying a drone in Mars. Okay,
Okay,
which is
yeah.
so cool.
I mean,
Now, even though
yeah, that's really cool.
Mars atmosphere is very thin compared to Earth, but this Ingenuity, I mean, which is commonly called as Mars helicopter, it has the propellers. It has enough size of the propellers to make it fly.
Yeah, I mean, I can. Okay, here's some interesting specifications of the Ingenuity Mars. So it weighs about 1.8 kilograms. It's as high as 1.6 feet, or about zero point 0.5 meters, and we have a two-pair counter rotating blades that span about 4 feet. So that right there gives you the idea of size. I mean, how big it is to just carry itself. And if you talk about how it is powered, it's again powered with solar panels that charge its lithium batteries. Like it can have about 90-second flight per Martian day. These are the facts from the uh, NASA's official page. So it tells us a lot of things as to how it is designed to run on the Martian surface. And given its limited time of flight, we are to understand how it works and get the data on, um, you know, uh, get the data that will help us to build the next generation of technology that goes to Mars. So okay, that being said, so here's another thought. This whole mission, if you look at it, Mahesh, so it's it's not just the next step that we are taking towards Mars. In fact, it is something that's preparing us for our future missions, right? For our future, probably the Martian settlement that we look in the far future. So what do you think? Like, if that's what I think, like, this might as well be the very first step to build our ground on the
Exactly.
Mars.
So to add on to that point, Mars, this Perseverance rover has one of the coolest, technology demonstrating instrument or experiment. Okay, so it is called as Moxie, another cool name. So Moxie stands for Mars Oxygen in situ resource utilization. So here, in situ resource utilization means you have to use the resources found on Mars. You cannot expect resupply missions from Earth. Okay, so you need to utilize all the resources that can be found on Mars. So this is one of the technology demonstration, which will find whether we can convert the CO2 available in the Martian atmosphere to get it converted into oxygen. Right? If we can do that, if this instrument achieves that, it'll be good because in the future
Yeah,
human space missions, yes, we can have this technology and we are building habitats on Mars.
exactly. So we have about 2 minutes to launch. I guess we can wait for the launch, and we can continue the conversation right after the firing, I guess. Yeah.
At 10.
And valves locked.
One minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
That's good to hear, Joshua, right there.
Public safety there is accounted for, the FTS system. There you see on your screen
Okay,
a
if you're
beautiful
seeing the
shot.
live, if you're
The
seeing the
skies look
live
great.
on a screen,
There's little wind
on a screen,
happening. You'll be able to
here
see
is
more
the
of
picture
the
of
venting,
the
the
cameras
wind,
of
the
the
trail of that venting.
So to
We're
talk,
ready to go.
so
Next,
to
this
talk
is
more
the
about
reason
the
we
launch
don't
plan.
see venting is
So
the
this
reason
is
valves
from
have
the
been locked
company
up.
United Launch
Flight
Alliance.
pressure
United
tanks.
Launch Alliance,
And
and the
as we
name
just
of
heard,
launch
stable
title
at step
Atlas
3, which
S5
means the
501.
tanks are ready to
Specifically
go.
501. So
And
this
here in
is
about
the
5
configuration Atlas
seconds,
5,
we will hear
the
the
big
tone
Atlas in the
ECS
series.
reduced for launch.
give the final go.
25 seconds.
Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go Mars 2020.
Okay,
There
so
we
I
go.
have
You're
my
ready to go lift off this morning, Joshua.
live launch running.
Eight, 7, 6,
And
5,
for another
4.
fact, that
Engine
this
ignition,
same launch
2,
title was used to launch
1,
Curiosity
0.
rocket and Mars Reconnaissance Rocket.
And lift
So
off.
one of the dependable
As the
rockets.
countdown to Mars continues, the perseverance of humanity launching the next generation of robotic explorers to the Red Planet.
One more thing
And
is,
Atlas
this is
TU
not a
is
heavy
on
lift launch
closed loop
vehicle.
control.
Okay. We have Delta 4 Heavy, which is a heavy lift launch vehicle, but this is an intermediate use. But still, it has enough capabilities to send the
Coming
rover.
up on 30 seconds into flight, the RD-180 is throttling down as expected. Engine response looks good. And Mach 1, Atlas 5 is now supersonic. And passing 45 seconds into flight, vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Okay, so
So 1 minute 10.
yeah, so that's 1 minute. So Mahesh,
And
if
passing
I'm
1 minute into
right,
flight,
so
the
this is the
RD-180 is
11th
throttling back
time
up as expected. Engine response
we
looks
are
good.
using the
At
same
this time in flight, the
rocket
SRB chamber pressures remain nominal. and
to
the RD-180
to have a
pump
Mars
speed
mission,
and fuel
right?
injector pressures
Exactly,
are responding
exactly.
well to demands on the engine.
So this
On
is
on
Standing
an
by
on
for
an
you can
Atlas
SRB
consider
rocket.
burnout
So
this as a workhorse for Mars mission.
yeah, exactly.
It gets you there.
And we have burnout on all 4 SRBs. Burnout
So
pressure signatures look good.
we had
Standing by for
as
SRB
Mahesh
jettison
you just
shortly.
mentioned, we had the reconnaissance orbiter
Okay,
that
now
was
we have
in
the final
2005.
go no go procedures on the mission control.
And we have good
Alright.
indication of SRB jettison of all 4 SRBs.
And we have the
And the vehicle has gone to closed loop guidance.
liftoff.
Okay, Mahesh, check your
Vehicle
live
body rates are
streamer.
responding nominally at this time.
It's 2 minutes in. Okay.
Yes, KK.
Check your live streamer. It's 2 minutes in.
Okay.
And
Am I
coming up on
delayed?
2.5
Okay.
minutes into flight.
Yeah. You have to just seek it
The
further.
RD-180
Yeah.
is throttled down slightly as expected. Engine response continues to
So
look
so
good.
as I was saying, you mentioned
This
it
time the
it being
vehicle
used
is,
for previous
50
missions.
miles
We
in
had the
altitude,
reconnaissance orbiter in
85 miles
2005.
downrange, traveling
We
at
had the Curiosity
6,000
rover
miles per hour.
in 2011. The Maven orbiter in 2013, and Insight lander in 2018.
Centaur reaction
So
control system is now
all have been
pressurizing to flight level.
really good. I mean, this, as you said, is a workhorse for the Mars missions. Okay, so Mahesh, can you repeat that? Can you do a repeat on the point as to why? What is the significance of the 541 Atlas 541?
Okay, the
Engine
541
response and
stands
vehicle
for, 5
acceleration
stands
look
for the diameter of the payload fairing, which is 5 meters, and 4 stands for the number of solid boosters which the rocket uses, which is 4, and 1 stands for the number of engines in the upper stage, which is the Centaur stage.
And we have good
Okay,
indication
quite
of payload
interesting. We are
fairing
3 minutes in,
jettison
3.5
and
minutes in.
forward load reactor
And
deck jettison.
okay, the outer space.
And we have payload fairing separation.
Yes.
And the RD-180 is throttled.
You can
back,
see the
is
surface
throttling
of the
back
rocket
up
has a
to
lot
attain
of
a
ice
4.6G
formation,
acceleration.
right? Which is a
Engine
typical
response continues to look
rocket
good.
launch. We have fire as well as ice.
Okay. Now that should be a book
That's
on fire and ice.
temperature
And
difference.
Centaur has
Okay.
begun the boost phase.
Really sorry
sequence to
for
thermally
bringing
condition
up
the
pop
RL-10
culture.
for
So
operation.
okay.
Standing by for BECO shortly.
Okay. So speaking of
Pico
pop
is
culture, but there's something that I just want to say this, that it is not entirely related to
Okay,
pop culture,
TK,
but
sorry for interrupting. So the next
yeah.
event will be the MECO, main engine cutoff.
And we have good indication of Atlas Centaur separation.
Yes, we have the MECO. And we have state separation.
So there you're seeing live footage.
And we
from
have
the
MES
rocket.
1. RL-10 operating parameters look good.
Okay, there you go. So that is
Chamber pressures
Centaur
are stable.
stage and the RL-10 engine of the Centaur stage.
Okay, so the duration of this mission is about
The first of 2 burns for
1
today's
Martian year,
mission. This first burn
which
will
is
be
Yeah,
close
sorry,
to 2
TK,
Earth years.
You can see the Centaur stage is already doing some minute course corrections, right?
Yeah. Very minute. Yeah.
That
So, Mick, that's pretty exceptional footage there. That's live video. We will see that switch over shortly into an animation that kind of helps let us know what's happening with the rocket. But right there,
Yeah, so I was just saying that the mission duration is about 2 Earth years. How long is it gonna take this from here to go to Mars?
Mars destination.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great watching an on-time liftoff of the Atlas V with that little over 2 million pounds of thrust. Cleared the tower in roughly 5 seconds. Josh, you and I worked the InSight mission, and if you recall, that mission on the West Coast took about 17 seconds to get past tower. So with those 4 solids today, this thing really got out of here and on its way. It's, as we hear from Jesse, everything's looking nominal, and all vehicle parameters are within the design.
Am I audible?
And
Yeah, Mahesh, you're loud and clear.
Start for that first burn that Jesse was talking about.
Yeah, so recapping this countdown to Mars, the stations began to be filled up this morning just after midnight. Preparations, fuelings, powering up, all the way
Okay,
through
so
that liftoff
the
that
estimated
happened,
touchdown
I think, Mick,
is
wasn't
in the month of
precisely on time. I
February.
think you said it was like 10 milliseconds
Yes.
early.
So Mahesh, so that's
it's pretty
about
much dead on.
Dead on. This
a
team
couple
does
of
great
months
job.
from
As
now.
I said, they're
So
very
the
focused, very
we are
disciplined.
really
Tori also
not
said courageous.
done
They have done a
even
lot of
after
work
the
to
launch
get us to this
until
point today,
we have
through
a
this pandemic,
successful
changed
landing
how they did some
in
of
the
their
month of
work,
February. So that's a lot
made
of time to
adjustments
hold
as
your
needed,
heart out.
a lot of cleaning,
Okay,
a lot of
if you
things,
talk about
wearing
exciting
face masks,
phases
doing
in
all
this
kinds of
mission, one
things.
is the
And
launch,
so
that
this
is done.
exciting time, not
It's good
only
to go.
for
It's
the
towards
JPL
its
team on
journey.
Mars
The next
2020,
phase
but
will be the
everybody
EDL
for this
phase.
mission.
entry, descent, and touchdown. And that is where this famous phrase came out of the JPL engineers called 7 minutes of terror, which we witnessed during this curiosity. Right? As it enters the Martian atmosphere, the plasma builds up and you lose the communication. And no one knows what happens to that 7 minutes. Zone. So that is going to be the exciting thing. But since we already put that technology, sky crane, rocket powered sky crane, hovering the rover down and touching down, is already proved, but you never know, right?
Exactly. I mean, you never know until it just happens.
It's not like a pit crew is waiting for you. You pull your car out and make maintenance checks.
Yeah, the launch vehicle
No, once you pack it in the rocket and it is, that's it. Right? You can just observe.
And that allows them to continue to watch what's going on and make sure all their sequence of events meet their timeline. We continue on a nominal flight this morning.
So that is another side of it, another view.
Get us into that park orbit around Earth.
Okay. Now coming to other interesting facts of the Perseverance Rover.
Get into that approximately 30-minute coast period.
No, Mars rockets have been collecting images and data from the equator from about 200 miles. Okay, we already have enough data from the equator. We have Odyssey orbiter, we have Reconnaissance orbiter, which has taken tons of images of the same landing site.
So
but
what
the rover will do is to take this to samples to the equator, which is very wide in doing mineral analysis and spectral analysis to find out what is there in the equator and seek out astrobiological signatures. That is one of the primary priority of this, right? So if in case it does find material, okay, that is, I don't know, that's going to be exciting. If at all it finds any signatures of life.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about the results of this mission, that's if we say that we do find successful signatures or biosignatures that we call, that's gonna patch up a huge gap of knowledge that we have. The big knowledge gap, not only for Mars but also on but also about Earth. We're gonna learn a lot of how these the life reacts to life as a whole reacts to the changes in the cosmic atmosphere. If I'm making sense here, so what do you think about that?
Over the last several days, Josh, one of the things that was important for us to look at was that performance, to be able to get
my point here
Mars
is
2020 onto that transfer orbit into solar orbit to intercept Mars in 7 months. It's kind of analogous to a football game, right?
Yeah, Mahesh, you're loud and clear.
A quarterback trying to throw a pass downfield. You need a quarterback with a lot of performance.
Okay, Mahesh, now you're muted. I'm not able to hear you.
And so the receiver can intercept that. In our case, 7 months later.
There you go. Yeah, it's the longest football pass ever. The Earth is the quarterback. The Atlas is the quarterback's arm.
Okay, so sorry for that. So can you repeat that question?
Mars is the receiver.
Okay. So first of all, Mahesh, that was not a question. I was just talking about the life and what's your take on it. What if we do find signatures of biosignatures on this mission?
You required the least amount of energy
to
get to Mars.
The scientific data we have collected till now from all the missions, Mars,
541 is
everything suggests there were water on ancient Mars. Okay? Well, right now it looks like a dusty red planet with no life at all. But it wasn't back then. It would have had ancient seas and oceans which were teeming with life. Everyone knows that, okay, for sure. Well, thing is, we need to find that life forms, at least if we have fossilized life forms in these rock beds. So that is what we're trying. But once we find that there are signatures, it will completely change the view of life, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Plus one on that.
To the point that life on Earth might have come from outer space.
Okay, so we are talking about the panspermia theory. Quite interesting. Yeah. So the journey from here for the rover is about around 497 million kilometers, and that's gonna approximately take it 213 days. So it's in a cruise right now. So that's a long journey for the rover.
I cannot say it is the shortest route, but it's most energy efficient.
Energy efficient, yes. Yeah. So once it reaches the Martian atmosphere, so it's going to have something called EDL, entry, descent, and landing, right? So basically,
now this is where the updates of this Perseverance rover kicks in, right? So this the instruments on the Perseverance rover and the cameras have been upgraded, which we did not find it on Curiosity. One such is we have something called as terrain relative navigation, which means it has already have stored images of the landing sites. So it'll take pictures and it'll keep comparing the pictures with the already stored pictures, and it'll decide for the best landing site. Okay, so even though the landing site has been programmed into its computer, it'll hone on to a particular landing site which is safe, right? What if there are rocks in its path? What if there are something else which might topple the rover? So it will look for those features and compare the onboard already taken pictures and decide for its best landing site. So that is one of the interesting technologies.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's like it's gonna decide its own site, its own comfortable place to put its feet down. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's quite interesting. So at the beginning of the EDL, it's gonna be piercing into the Martian atmosphere at about
Okay, we
19.
have that off if you're seeing the
Yeah.
launch.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
And now it's on its journey to Mars. So once it passes recheck all its space, Van Halen will recheck all its instruments and go into hibernation, conserve and save its fuel, so that it can again wake up when it is near Mars.
Okay, so as I was saying, let me just get back to the point. So once the rover is entering the Martian atmosphere, it'll be at around 19,500 kilometer per hour at that speed, and within 7 minutes, it's going to be completely stationary on the surface. So that's quite a descent. Okay, Mahesh, you're not audible. Maybe you're muted.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, that big number 20 kilometers per hour. That's a relatively fast velocity change. But yeah, Perseverance rover has enough technologies on board which can handle it. It has parachutes, it has rocket-powered sky cranes. Yeah, telling something.
Yeah, that's exactly what the very short period of time to decrease its velocity from 19,500 kilometer per hour to zero. I mean, again, it's a marvelous piece of engineering, which brings me to the point. I mean, I personally thought that it's probably going to get delayed again, but that's a great work from the team. I mean, you can see, given our scenario, the whole pandemic has only slowed things down. We had to take extra precautions, extra steps to make sure the work is going on. We have had delays, but we did meet up on the timeline. So that's really amazing job. That's precisely what perseverance is, if you ask me. Okay. So, talking about the rover, if anyone out there who's watching this, if you're interested in interacting with a live 3D model, you can find one in Edge of Space. There's an article
You just have an embed of 3D model. You can just play around with it, look at its different components, everything in 3D. You have it's like an AR model. So please do check it out. It's quite interesting to have a look at the entire view of this Perseverance rover. So okay, so Mahesh, uh, talking about the engineering part of the rover, can you tell me something about its wheels, which again are not much improvement from its predecessor, that is the Curiosity rover? Uh, uh, like what material is it made of? And basically like it has to cruise through the harsh surface of Mars, and we do have this amazing rocker bogie mechanism for its suspension, but what about its wheels? They're just like really thin, if you ask me, when you look at them, but they're quite strong. So how did the engineers come up with such a design, and what material is it using?
Okay. Perseverance rover wheel is a bit different from the Curiosity rover wheels. That is because the engineers never expected the wheels to wear off that much. Okay. If you see the condition of the Curiosity rover's wheel, it's in really bad shape. There are holes, literally holes all over the wheels. Okay. Because the thin sheet of the wheel wasn't enough to withstand all those sharp rocks. They did expect there will be rocks, but they did not expect the rocks will be like a sandstone sharp rocks which will poke a hole right through the aluminum skeleton. And coming to the material of the wheel, now this wheel is not made up of different elements of such. So it is machined out of a single flight grade aluminum block. Okay, I'm talking just about the wheel. And if you see the internal spokes, it is made up of titanium. Okay, they take in the
Okay.
compressions and maintain the rigidity of the wheel. And now Perseverance rover wheel is slightly larger in diameter and narrower than Curiosity's. Okay, and the skin is almost a millimeter thick, which will ensure that it will sustain all the sharp rocks which it will encounter in that crater. Okay, and the treads and the grouses which you see over the wheel, that is also been increased to give it a better grip when traversing that terrain. Yes, it is an upgrade again. It has updated. Okay, literally everything has been updated from the Curiosity because we learned a lot from Curiosity rover, right?
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
one of the inputs which we gave in the Perseverance rover, making it the advanced friend, a twin brother of Curiosity as such.
Okay. Okay. So some time before, I was just reading your article that you authored in Edge of Space, titled Perseverance. Um, okay, I just got a news. Something is wrong for the launch. So yeah, as I was saying, I was just reading your article that you authored, titled Perseverance, in Edge of Space. So I was reading this point that you specifically highlighted, saying that we are expecting the rover to work with a precision of a Swiss watch. Okay, I mean if I think everybody knows that if we talk about watches, you can't talk about it without bringing the Swiss watches, which are known for their uh, incredibly high precision. So you mentioned that we are expecting it to work with that sort of precision, but when you compare the parts, the Swiss watch is made up of somewhere around 400 parts, whereas the rover is made up about 3,000 parts. So I mean, what made you?
Yeah, exactly. That has to be there, right? The precision has to be there. Even if it has 4,000 parts, the gears has to be within a precision of not even degrees. Okay, millidegrees, less than a degree. So it has to have that precision. If you talk about drilling a rock sample and collecting it and storing it in capsules, well, if you're on Earth, you can just do it. You can control a robotic arm with joystick, right? But it's not the case in Mars. It has to have this autonomy, right? It has to do everything by its own. So you need that precision.
Yeah, cool. Which when you just brought up the arm, I really have to bring this interesting fact. There is this among all the different tools that the rover is carrying on. We have one which is a 1.6 foot long sample handling arm, which is called by the JPL team as T-Rex arm. I mean, yeah, that's something cool I read from here. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this T-Rex arm is located in the belly of the rover. Okay. So once you
Okay.
give the rock samples, it has to put it in a specific capsule and store it in its chamber, right? So this is where the T-Rex arm comes in. Well, it's a nickname given by JPL engineers. Of course, engineers, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
engineers. +1 on that. Yeah. Okay, so we are still cruising on, and
if you want regular updates on the status of the vehicle and spacecraft, you can always visit NASA TV. And also, please do subscribe to Edge of Space, where we will be posting regular articles on the Perseverance mission, where we will be keep tracking of the entire mission. Also, we'll have another live session during the ADL phase of the mission, right?
exactly.
Another exciting phase of the mission.
Yeah. So please do visit edgeofspace.in. We have a series of articles coming in, which will keep you updated on the status of the mission and other stuff. And we have the first article that was authored by Mahesh himself. Very interesting. So it's edgeofspace.in. Okay. And one more interesting thing you can do is get a live watch viewers pass of this whole event, which is quite interesting, and you can share it in your social media with either hashtag go Mars or hashtag Mars 2020 with Edge of Space, where you'll have you'll stand a chance to win exciting things from SSERD. So please do give it a shot if you are into winning some
Okay,
exciting stuff.
so I can see a few questions in our YouTube. So how will this mission help Mars civilization? So what do you think? So as I gave you this example, there is a scientific instrument called Moxie, right? It's a technology demonstration mission. So it'll find whether we can convert the CO2 to oxygen, right? So if you go to Mars, you need oxygen to breathe. You cannot just carry oxygen cylinders all the way from Earth, right? Because carrying more mass is really expensive. Now we need to find a way to develop oxygen or create oxygen from the Martian resource. Well, we already have enough CO2 in the atmosphere, right? So if we can find a way, if we can design an instrument which can convert that CO2 into O2, is solved, right? That major problem is solved. You can live on Mars. I mean, not everything is solved, but one of the vital needs for humans to survive on Mars, right? So that is one thing. Also, this Curiosity rover, I mean, the predecessor of Perseverance rover, already measured this radiation levels on Mars precisely, right? Now, which made the scientists come up with theories that, well, humans cannot live on Mars just like that without radiation treatment because the radiation levels are a bit high on Mars. So that is one of the vital findings of these rovers. So if we get all these data, it will be useful to design a human Mars mission in the future. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah. So, okay. Here's one more interesting fact that I want to mention. So, Mahesh, if you remember, we had this event hosted, brought up by NASA, where you could, send your name to Mars, basically. So you could get a boarding pass of sorts and a whole ticket that your name is being put on a chip, and that chip put on a plate, and that is fixed onto the rover.
Exactly.
And it's sent to Mars, and
Which
possibly,
is cool, right?
yeah,
You have your
really
name stored
amazing.
in that microchip, and it is flying to Mars, and it will land on Mars. the circle.
Exactly,
Now, actually,
exactly.
they thought of putting one chip on the vehicle, on the rover,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
number of names they got was very huge. Okay,
yeah.
so
It's about 10
they ended up
million.
with 3 chips. Exactly,
Yeah,
they ended up with 3 chips, microchips, on the rover
exactly.
itself.
So we have about 10 or 10.9. So that's just 11, about 11 million names that were received by NASA to over to Mars. And one more interesting thing is, just like we had a message on this Voyager satellite, we have one which is not exactly like it, but of sorts. So we have a message on the plate that is containing these 3 chips that have all the 10 or 11 million names from Earth. So if you can look at it, you can look at the picture of that plate that has the 3 chips. So you will find 3 spheres, okay, 3 circles. So one is showing Mars and the other Earth, and it basically says that the star, okay, the sun, the star in our solar system, is giving light to both these planets, and the sun rays have Morse code. So the if you can run your finger through, or if you can just look through the sun rays of that star that's on the center, you can find that there's Morse code which just reads out to explore as one. So that's something again that's going on right now. So we are uh, urging on this whole explore as one uh, you know slogan, if you say it like that. So yeah.
Okay, so this putting messages on the spacecraft actually date back to the Voyager, right? When they decided to put a golden record on Voyager, like a time capsule thing, if it ever encounters alien form. Well, I don't think they had the same thing in mind when they put, place that message on the rover. But having messages on the spacecraft is kind of cool. Okay, talking about interesting stuff, here are some interesting facts about the parachute which is used on the rover, whose primary task is to slow down the rover. Mm. Now here are okay. Now the Perseverance rover's parachute is placed in the aluminum shell, okay, at the back of the rover, and its primary mission is to slow the rover down. Now, once the rover starts entering the Martian atmosphere, its velocity will be Mach 1.7. That's huge, right? And the weight of the parachute is around 88 kilograms with the shock cords, the nylon and cable shock cords, and the parachute material. Now, the thing is, everything is put in aluminum shell or a cylinder, which is around 50 centimeter wide. That's it. Okay. But when the parachute inflates, it is as big as 21 meter. Okay. It's the inflated diameter is 21 meters. And the whole of that thing is packed in a small cylinder, which is 50 centimeters long. So which makes it feel like kind of wood. So that is what interesting. Now again, here's another update which the engineers gave to the rover. Now it's not that the parachutes are programmed to deploy at a certain altitude, but the precise altitude at which the parachute will get deployed will be decided by the rover itself, right? As I told you, it
Yeah,
has a technology called terrain relative navigation. So that system will decide when to deploy the parachute exactly, so that you will exactly land where you need to, so that you won't just deviate from your landing site, even by 1 meter. So they are having that accuracy. So yes, it's going to be very interesting during the aerial phase.
yeah. I'm
Also,
really
they
looking
have
forward to it
cameras which
already.
will record all these parachute deployments, right? The explosive
Yeah.
balls coming off, the sky crane detaching itself from the rover. Well, we have to wait that long, I guess, to
Yeah.
watch those.
About 7 months from now. So we're
Exactly.
gonna wait
But
about 7 months from now.
along with the videos, we will also have audio systems. Remember, we have
Yeah.
microphones. That's kind of
So Mahesh, here's a thought. So I mean, of course, we are sending microphones to record audio from Mars. If you, like, if you just look at this this whole thing from a different point of view, you're sending microphones to hear the silence on Mars, basically. But that silence contains all these different, sounds of wind, the sound of rocks and dust as the rover moves around, and everything. So basically, there's you are sending microphones to hear that, okay, to hear something from that nothingness, and make a lot of sense of that sound here on Earth. I mean, of course, it's not a scientific instrument, the microphone, but there's a lot you would get to know, maybe about the Martian atmosphere and the rock density from the sound as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So when they plan to put a microphone onto the rover, they did not have exact plans on what that microphone will be used for, but they will come up with solutions. They will come up to use that data as well, because you will literally have all the sounds, like Martian winds flowing across the microphones, and the aluminum wheels crunching onto the rocks, everything. The wheels sliding
Exactly.
off the sand dunes. It will be useful.
Uh,
Everything scientific does is.
So we have had our Curiosity land in 2012. So that's about 8 years, 8 years back, and now here we are with Perseverance. That's going to open a whole new, different window into our Martian exploration.
Exactly. It was 2012, if I remember right. Curiosity landed on Mars, right? Now
Yeah,
we
exactly.
are another rover which is doing the same thing, but with different goals. But even though the timeline between two such missions is so huge, slowly picking up with addition of commercial programs in NASA. So NASA started working with commercial partners as well. So I think the pace will improve. And as NASA said, they will have subsequent missions to get back the rock samples to Earth, and followed by human space missions to Moon as well as Mars. So hope everything happens in the coming years, but I'm really not sure what is the timeline that they plan to do that, because we landed on Moon in 1969, right? They thought we would be on Mars and other planets another 10 years, but here we are, 2020, and we are still sitting.
2020. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it's space exploration is not easy, right?
Just look, for example, Moon. I mean, we still are planning out the Artemis mission to put another man and the first woman on Moon, and that is also going to be, the stepping stones for us to send our missions to Mars. Like basically we are planning to keep an entire station of sorts around Moon through the Artemis missions, which are just going to assist our travel towards the red planet, right?
Exactly.
I mean, this I would say really interesting this year and this month, because we have had other important events as well, apart from this launch of Perseverance rover and Mars 2020 mission. But we have had the UAE send its Mars orbiter. We have had the Chinese send their very first Mars mission, and we have also had ESA take very close pictures of the sun through its solar orbiter, the joint operation between NASA and ESA. So if you look at the this, and of course we have had the the SpaceX working together with NASA, sending commercial astronauts to ISS via its Dragon capsule. So quite a lot of things, interesting things happening in the realm of space, and this is just one among those many, and we have many more coming up. So what do you think? Are we in the pace to to have rapid development in space exploration, or is it like you would say it has developed the pace, but it's still not at its peak? What do you think it is?
Well, that is true, but once this commercial space companies showed up, like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others, the pace kind of picked up. Actually, the important thing was when NASA decided to work with its commercial space companies in very close hand, well, everything kind of changed, right? So it will not be the NASA working on all the missions from now on. It will also be the commercial space companies have tremendous freedom in what they are doing, right? So if we combine with that freedom and the experience of NASA,
Where it's
well,
the
is
next step, and
the pace
of
will
course there's others
increase
coming.
the coming years.
Dragonfly.
Yeah.
We're already
Okay.
figuring it out.
Okay. When you talk about the whole commercial element to it, um, here's
Well,
my
see,
take on
to
it.
add on to that point, let me, okay.
Yeah. Sure.
So one thing with this government space agencies is you have to depend on budgets, right?
Exactly.
So how
Yeah.
to get budgets? You need to convince the taxpayers that the things which you are doing is important. Some might think
Exactly.
going to space is useless. You have other things to worry about on Earth, right? Well, you need to convince them that going to space and doing all these things will be essential for humans in the coming days. Then you get budget, and again, the budget which you get is not enough really. So you need to be picky about your missions. So
Exactly.
every space or government space agencies, to be particular, always had its indifference. Okay, having these missions go. But when the commercial space companies showed up, well, they can do whatever they want, right? No one
Yeah.
is going to stop them. If they decided to go to Pluto, who will question? It's their money, right? They always
Yeah.
have the to do that. Also, the leap which they take, it's huge. Okay, so that is one of the advantages of having a commercial from space company along with the government space company in achieving things. Well, if it happens even here in India, well, it's going to change the pace which we are going right now.
Exactly. I mean, if you ask me what new element or what the whole commercial part of uh, you know uh, any development for that matter, if you talk about what commercial or the whole independent companies bring to the field, I would say it's the guts to face failure. Take for example SpaceX, like they fail and they build on it, and they're not it's not like they have to worry about it. When you talk about the government agencies, uh, it's a big deal because as you said, they have to convince the taxpayers, and there are a lot of eyes looking over the results. And it's not that they have to it's not that they have to answer the organization, but instead they have to answer all those different or all those numerous eyes that's looking over their progress, right? If you ask me. But even though the same similar scenario is there, like there are a lot of other people looking into the private companies developments and their results of the missions. But it's not like, okay, all things have come to an end if they fail, right? I mean, they build on it, they redo it, probably again fail and again rebuild, and now they have something that's better than what better than anything that was ever made in that domain, if you ask me. So
Exactly. Yeah, you're exactly. It's right. Because the way the government space agencies work and the commercial space agencies work is completely different, right? The amount of leap, what do you call it, as leap of faith, which you take, it's completely different. The scale is completely different. Now, if you
exactly.
fail in, if you're a government space agency and if you fail at a mission, you need to answer for a bigger audience, right? But in commercial space company, the audience, the number of audiences less compared to the government space agencies. It'll be only your investors, your shareholders, and your employees. That's it. And that is why the amount of the leap which the commercial crew companies take is pretty huge, and they do take that risk. Well, yes, they do get their what do you call that? They achieve success.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go to the live, see what is happening there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so with this last update, we're going to end this call.
Okay, so we are okay, Mahesh. So are you gonna run the update?
That history, that leaders, and it's why we're successful.
So you oversee the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California and doing incredibly complex work. Why are these robotic missions so hard?
You know, they're hard because you can't really see what's going on. You can't use your human responses, right? You know, you're used to driving your car and see what's happening, and you know, you turn the wheel. In this case, you know,
so
we've
it was
got
quite
to
an
the
interesting
rover,
watch party.
we've got to prepare the rover to do a lot of that stuff on its own, right? And so we've got to understand Mars, we've got to understand how the rover works, and we've got to put all that together into a machine that can function more or less without us. So we talk to it once a day, and we say, how are you doing? And go over there and do these experiments, and then it's got to do that.
Updated
so we kind of give it
multiple articles that's going to come out in the Perseverance series. So please do check out edgeofspace.in. And again, there's another quite interesting thing that you can do in social media related to NASA is any of their tweets or any tweet that has hashtag GoMars or hashtag Mars 2020 or hashtag Perseverance. If you just like on it, you'll have a really cool animation that goes around. Like you can have a rocket. You see a rocket go in. Quite interesting. You have it in all the languages. So please do try that out. And if you want a live viewers pass, you can just get it. There's the link in the chat box. It's gomars.edgeofspace.in. You can just go there. You can get yourself a viewers live pass for this event, which it is for this event, but you can just still get it. It's still open. You can also get redirected to the article that's authored by Mahesh. Wonderful article. It has got 3D view of the rover, the Perseverance rover. You can play around because it's an interactive 3D embed. So please do check it out. So we are signing off from SSERD. So,
and yes, to add into the final thing, so we'll be back with this live thing again on February 18th when the rover is undergoing ADL phase with probably party hats. Okay, waiting to celebrate.
Yeah.
So yes, see you there.
See you guys. So.
Lower orbit on its way with
bye,
the
everyone.
proper velocity. We will then get ready to separate Mars 2020 on its way. And I'm hearing that settling is done and
we have main
engine start.
There we go. Awesome. And again, that animation there being driven by actual telemetry data coming from that rocket. So that's a phenomenal sign. And again, I think that it's tough with these images. Perspective and scale are so important. This vehicle is in Earth orbit. It's not near anything, so you can't see the acceleration of what's happening right now. But for 8 minutes, it's going to be picking up speed.
Yeah, this is the burn that gets us really moving in the direction we need to go, that fast velocity that we need to get out of our park orbit and head on our way to Mars. Of course, Centaur and Mars 2020 are still together, and as we're hearing, everything is looking nominal on this fire so far. Main engine start was good, and the firing is going well, nominal, as we see in the animation there.
Fantastic. So this is rocket science, and it's not easy. We actually want to bring in now, we have a special guest. This is Dr. Denton Gibson, excuse me. Yes. He is a rocket scientist. His official title is Senior Vehicle Systems Engineer. Denton, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, did you enjoy that? Obviously, you got to kind of spectate. A lot of days, you guys sitting on console, you have to kind of focus on your computer, but you got to see this one today.
Oh, yes, and it was a beautiful launch today.
Yeah, nice sunrise. Hey, tell us about your role with LSP. I was not making up things when I said you're a rocket scientist, but what exactly do you do?
So as our role in LSP, as a vehicle system engineer, we are the engineering team lead for a lot of the rockets that we launch our science missions on. And we are responsible for the oversight and insight into these launch vehicles for the NASA.
That's awesome. And I know in the past you've supported a variety of vehicles. Tell us a little bit about the vehicles that you have supported and the ones you're focused on today.
Yeah, so some of the vehicles I supported in the past is the Delta II, which was a long-time workhorse for our science missions, as well as the Pegasus and Taurus/Minotaur C. And right now I've been focused mainly on the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously not focused on the Atlas V, but a lot of that experience and the process is the same. I want to take a moment to pause and say Denton's there at Hangar AE. That's the NASA Launch Services Program's hangar. They're very proud of that. We call it the telemetry center of the universe. That's where the data for today is flowing. But I wanted to also ask you, is the process the same for all these vehicles? When we talk about the telemetry and these sort of processes of getting from Earth to Mars, does Falcon 9 experience translate to Atlas, or are they completely separate?
So the overall process for many of these launch vehicles are the same, whereas you ship stages to the launch site and assemble the launch vehicles by stages. So in that sense, they're the same, but there's a lot of differences between the launch vehicles that may change that process a little bit. But in general, the processes are the same.
Yeah, and Joshua, I was going to say, Denton, I worked with Denton quite a bit over the years, and he talks about the different vehicles he's worked on. But Denton is one of my senior vehicle engineers in LSP, and so although he's not totally supporting Atlas V today, he does have experience with Atlas V, and as he said, things are very similar. So using his experience, we're able to train and bring on new generation of engineers, and Denton's been a huge part of that to allow us to grow our bench, if you will, to start working commercial partners.
Yeah, awesome. So Denton, tell us a little bit about kind of what's involved, what goes in behind the scenes, what's the rocket science of going from Earth to Mars, this maneuver to go into solar orbit?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that happen behind the scenes it's a lot of analysis work done by our analysis teams. I mean, it's months and months of analyses that are performed based on the orbit insertion, the performance of the launch vehicle. A lot of modeling and simulations is done to be able to get to this point to where we can transfer from Earth orbit into solar orbit.
Awesome. And obviously you're a rocket scientist. That's, for a lot of people, that's like the pinnacle. That's like, hey, I want to be a rocket scientist. So where do you go from here in your career? Because obviously, like, I'm sure there's lots of things that you'd like to go and accomplish.
So, going from here, I mean, one of the coolest things about this job of working in the launch services program is working the launch, right? I mean, who doesn't love a launch, and who doesn't love working launches?
Yeah, we love them. We love them. Excitement this morning, right, Denton? We got to see that's what it's all about.
Of course. So, one of the ideal jobs would be a launch director, because you get to work all the launches. I mean, how cool is that?
No, yeah, that's true. And I guess you get to, is it right to say you call the shots, or is it that the buck stops with you, or how would you say that?
I'd say the buck stops with the launch manager. As today we talked, right? Omar Baez is our launch manager for Mars 2020, and he had to poll the team and make sure everything's ready to go. So the buck does stop with him right there on today's launch. And as Denton says, I think there's a lot of people that would love that job, and Denton's definitely looking at that next step. So I guess we need to give Omar and his assistant launch manager, Tim Dunn, a heads up.
Yeah, there you go. Dr. Gibson.
Dr. Gibson is on the way.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Dr. Gibson, before we let you go, give us a real quick snapshot. I know you have a mission coming up later this year. What are you working on?
So we're supporting the Crew 1 launch coming up. So we're helping commercial crew out with that one, as well as Sentinel-6 as far as the LSP missions that's coming up later on this year. And so we're excited about that one.
Yeah, a ton going on. Dr. Gibson, appreciate you. Thanks. And I want to take a special moment on the commercial crew note to comment. We've got a big day coming up.
Yes.
Pending weather. There's a tropical system that might kind of get in the mix here, but we have a tropical system that could create some problems. Otherwise, we've got Bob and Doug from Demo 2. They're coming home on August 2nd.
Yes, I was going to say, Joshua, that's important for us also in LSP. Denton was my lead VSE, along with a few others that are in the group that worked that mission with the commercial crew program, and so it's really important for us to be able to support other programs within the agency to make these things happen. As we launch Mars 2020 today, which is another step for us getting humans to Mars, right? Is getting humans launched off of Earth soil was a huge step for off of American soil.
Yes,
was a huge step for us.
Yeah, and so talk about that really briefly with LSP. Obviously, Denton there, appreciate him and his contribution, and you working towards commercial crew, but also supporting Artemis, which is also part of that path of getting humans to Mars someday. Artemis is about learning to live on the moon to sustain a presence there with the eyes on Mars. So how is LSP supporting even Artemis?
Yeah, one of the things there is the Gateway program, right? Deep Space Logistics that is working a lot of that. And so LSP is in the works of supporting Gateway and helping them work with the commercial partners that are providing the rockets for those kind of missions that are out there and future things. One of the cool things about working with launch Services Program is that we work with all of our commercial partners, SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, Northrop Grumman Space Systems, and of course some up-and-comings. You may have heard some, right?
It is
like
a growing
Blue Origin.
field. Yeah.
It's definitely a growing field in the aerospace industry, and LSP takes pride in working with those commercial partners to figure out what we can do for NASA and the country.
Awesome. Yeah, it is an exciting time for spaceflight. The commercial spaceflight industry is booming. There's always new things happening. If you keep an eye on the news, you will see new things. We're getting word now that the engine cutoff here should be happening momentarily. Once we see that happen, we'll have roughly, I believe it's 5 minutes until we actually see the spacecraft separation occur. So we're going to stay with you through that, but want to kind of just preview that for you, that hopefully on screen here you should be seeing that engine cutoff, and that's completely expected. That's a nominal operation, as you say, Nick.
We'll hear from Jesse Gonzalez, who's looking at the launch vehicle telemetry and watching the animation there. So let's listen in for Jesse here.
And there's the call, and there's the animation, again, modified based on data. So let's talk about communication for a minute, Nick, because it is not an automatic thing to just shoot information at Earth and have that be usable. So how do we go about communicating not only through launch, but on the way to Mars, and then once we're at Mars?
Yeah, so the important thing this morning is when we lifted off from Complex 41 here at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, we had ground stations that were looking at the launch vehicle and tracked it all the way to provide data. Once we got onto orbit after stage separation, you heard a call out for TDRS, the telemetry network that NASA owns, which, by the way, is also used for the ISS and will be used hopefully for the landing with Doug and them.
Yes.
So getting off the ground today was great because we could deconflict some of that TDRS usage, right? But TDRS is very important for us to be able to get the telemetry from the launch vehicle back down to Earth here. And then, of course, when Mars 2020 separates and it gets on its way to Mars, then the JPL team will take advantage of NASA's Deep Space Network, which has been around for a long time, to be able to transmit commands and data back and forth to the Mars 2020. So it takes a lot of folks to work those, and the TDRS and Deep Space Network are very important to not only the science missions, but human space flight also.
Yeah, and I think the coordination of that is something that people don't get a chance to understand much, because as you said, we're using TDRS for crew return, we use TDRS for space station, and TDRS is not an unlimited resource. We have a good number of TDRS satellites in orbit that help us do these things, but it is a coordinated effort across the globe, because we even have ground stations in Australia, I think. Yeah. Where are all of our ground stations even?
We have ground stations everywhere, not only here in America on the West Coast and East Coast, but then you get into South Africa area, Australia, you said. We have several ground stations that catch up different things for missions, but of course in orbit, TDRS and the Deep Space Network are very important. And as you said, there's not an unlimited amount of resources there in the TDRS network. So we have to coordinate those things within the NASA agency and with our commercial partners when they're used for our launches. And again, that's another part of what NASA does as an agency.
Yeah, so just on that note, kind of thinking about around the world, currently this spacecraft is roughly over the South Indian Ocean. So that's just thinking about how fast we're moving, just the amazing world of spaceflight. It's just hard to put into words sometimes of like, we're literally flying around the Earth and we're already halfway around it. And so I want to talk actually about planetary protection some more. I know we heard about that a little bit from Moo, about how they're working to protect Mars from contamination, so to speak, just putting things there we don't want, and we have to consider that, or ULA has to consider that when they're flying to Mars and delivering the spacecraft.
Yeah, it's a combined team. ULA, JPL, LSP had to look at that for when we get ready for spacecraft separation here in about a minute, right? One of the things we talked earlier is that Centaur and Mars 2020 are on the same path towards Mars right now. So once we separate, Centaur will do a CCAM maneuver, or what we call a contamination and control avoidance maneuver, and then blow down what's left of propellants in its tank. And by doing that, we have now put Centaur on a different track so that it will not intercept Mars or interfere with Mars 2020 at all for approximately the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of work by the JPL team and the launch team to make sure that would happen. So again, another planetary protection maneuver that had to be done.
Yeah, and I understand from the telemetry experts in LSP that this rocket actually, after the second burn, is not actually aimed straight at Mars for that reason. It's actually aimed slightly off of Mars. And so Perseverance, Mars 2020, will redirect itself just slightly. We're not talking about over 7 months, a little bit of difference here makes a lot of difference later.
Absolutely. And Josh, we heard Jesse telling us that Centaur is spinning up. This is the maneuver right prior to spacecraft separation, where we get into a slight roll to give Mars 2020 some
stable Centaur tank pressure,
stability.
Very good performance from the RCS system, and stable indications from the avionics systems as well.
So RCS there, the reaction control system, that's those small, the series of those small engines that you see firing around the spacecraft. Those are used for that in-flight operations that they need. The rolling activities, as Mick's saying, is basically providing stability to the flight of Mars 2020 as we go forward. Tell us about actually...
And we have successful separation of Mars 2020 with the Perseverance Rover.
There we go.
Awesome. We got some nice applause there. That is a big moment. We are hoping to get some live video back from that because of the time delays with communicating with things in space. We don't have it at this instant. We're hoping we'll get to see that here in a few minutes, and we'll bring that to you if we do. But tell us about the separation maneuver, because the apparatus, the actual... It's a really simple design.
It's a separation clamp. We'll talk about it in a minute, but as you see on your screen right now, you see the Mission Director Center where Omar Baez and the team are. And Josh, you and I joked about this a little bit earlier, but with the pandemic and everything going on, the teams have done a great job. Normally, spacecraft separation.
2020 with the Perseverance Rover, the Centaur will now perform its standard propellant blowdown sequence to inert the vehicle and complete today's flight after completing its CCAM avoidance maneuver. This will conclude today's commentary of the Mars 2020 mission. This is Atlas Flight Commentary signing off.
So that's the end of ULA's job for today.
Jesse Gonzalez did a great job with the ULA commentary this morning. But what I was saying about the Mission Director Center is normally we would see a lot of clapping, a lot of hoop hollering, a lot of high fives, handshaking.
Yeah.
But with the pandemic and everything, people are staying their distance, taking the guidelines seriously, wearing masks with this. So we saw a lot of air high fives, right?
Yes,
and stuff.
absolutely.
So that does not take away from what the team is, how excited they are. They have done a lot of work to get to this point, and that seeing spacecraft separation is awesome. So, but
well, and throw all on top of all that, 2020 was like, here, have an earthquake,
right?
So it's just we did it. Like we're most of the way there, not there yet.
Yeah, as you heard Omar earlier in the broadcast say, a lot of us when we started this, when the pandemic started, we kind of thought Mars 2020 might be Mars 2022.
Yeah.
But Mr. Bridenstine, the NASA agency, decided to move forward. The teams found ways to do this. As we heard, they were disciplined, they were focused, they were courageous. And all that played off today with a successful launch at 750, and now spacecraft separation, Mars 2020, Perseverance and Ingenuity on their way to the red planet.
Hey, we're going to wait for acquisition of signals. Stay with us, but really fast, Mick, tell us very, very quickly about this mechanism, because we teased it.
We teased it, yeah.
How do these things separate?
So the separation system is called a Marmon clamp band, actually designed earlier by Karl Marx, one of the Marx brothers. Very simple design, but it has some spring systems in it that once the signal is sent and the bolts release the clamp band, the springs basically just give just enough force to push the spacecraft off the front of the vehicle.
Awesome. And again, hopefully we'll see that video here momentarily. But for now, we're going to send it back to you and check in for one final time in a little bit with the folks here at ASOC. But Daryl, back to you.
All right, thank you, and great job, both of you, Joshua and Mick. It's always great to see Mick explain that springs are what's getting us to Mars. All right, so we've got our second burn underway. We've been flying for right about an hour, and as you just saw, spacecraft separation went well, and so that's fantastic. We can now say that Perseverance is officially on its way to Mars.
What a beautiful thought that is. And while NASA has been tracking the spacecraft since launch with its tracking and data relay satellite system, I know the mission control team at JPL is turning their attention to the next milestone, and that is ensuring that the array of communication antennas known as the Deep Space Network, or DSN, begin to receive a signal from the spacecraft flying the Perseverance rover to Mars. We expect to see the teams acquire the signal close to 9:14 Eastern Time. Though, as you saw, the spacecraft separation has occurred in the shadow of the Earth and out of line of sight of the system, so this could take a bit longer than estimated.
All right, and so finding life on Mars won't be as easy as you might think, and we talked a little bit about that. Here to talk about that and more is NASA astronaut Zena Cardman. Zena is here to join us, and we're so glad that you're here. Thanks for taking the time, first of all.